time he was beating her so bad, I ended up calling the cops, and I watched my dad get taken to jail. And shortly after that, my parents, got a divorce, and I'm growing up in a single-parent home with just me and my mom. How many of y'all growing up single-parent home here? It's a lot of us, especially I go into these public schools and I share my story. I promise you now today, 50% raise their hands. And I learned one thing: if the devil can cut the head from your family, which is the father, then the body can't function. And so through this time, it was just me and my mom. My mom does not know how to raise a man because she's not a man. She's a woman. She did the best that she could. But through that, I got involved with only the person that I looked up to at that point in time, which was my older cousin who was a gang member. Got under his leadership, did everything he told me to do, led my life the wrong way, got in trouble with the wrong things, got to high school my freshman year, got my report card, had an F in every class and a D in gym. Throw some D's on it. That was me. That same year, I had one of my good friends die, and it kind of opened up my eyes because he was like one of the most popular guys in the high school. And through his passing, it made me realize how much I was wasting my life. And I got invited out to a church service, something like this. And I came out, walked in. When I walked in, they had hip-hop. I'm a soldier. I didn't know you could rap for God, and I didn't even know it was that tight. And it kind of drew me to God because it was something I could relate to. This is my generation, my culture. So that drew me to want to know who this God was. And when the pastor came up, he spoke, he shared a word, and he impacted my life because he said, you want to know how much Christ loves you? I always wondered how much Christ loved me. And he said, it's simple, this much. And he would die on the cross for us so we can have everlasting. How many of y'all, people say, how much you love me? This much. But when you realize the description and the magnitude of how much Christ loves you, you'll understand he loves you this much. That he would take it to the cross. And so many people just have a misconception of Jesus taking it to the cross because we don't understand the torture and the things that happened. They took this whip, and in this whip it was made of shrapnel and glass and metal. How many of y'all been whipped before? Either, and most of y'all are Hispanic and blacks in here if you've been whipped. Because that's how we get. So, we've been whipped and it hurts, but through this whip, they took off his shirt, they put him on this small little pole, and they took this whip with the glass on it, and the metal and the pieces of sharp metal. They would whip him 39 times on the back. And each time they would whip him, it would attach to his flesh. And when they retracted the whip, pieces of flesh came off his back to where you could see his ribs. And they did that 39 times. Then they beat on him, they spit on him, and they threw him on the floor. Then, they made this mimicking imitation blasphemy crown for him. This crown was no ordinary crown. It was a crown made of thorns. And these thorns were 2 to 3 inches tall. And so when they built this crown for him, they didn't place it on his head. They slammed it on his head. So when it slammed on his head, literally, the thorns went into his skull, literally. And the blood would come down his face. Then they gave him this 150-pound cross of wood, this tree, put on his back, and told him to carry it up to Calvary. So he had to do that through his journey up there. And through the whole time he was doing it, you want to know who he was thinking about? You, me, us. Even Pastor Albert, I don't think about him that much, but thank God Jesus was. And so he was carrying his cross and he was thinking of us. And then when he finally got up to the point where he needed to be, they laid down the cross. They laid him on this cross. They put each hand on each side. And they took these 9-inch nails, probably about the size of this microphone, and then they drilled it into each hand. And took it to the other hand and drilled it. And took another 9-inch nail and put it in between his feet and they drilled it. And then they lifted up the cross. And from that point, the cross is made to suffocate you. For every breath that you wanted to take, you had to pull yourself up, push yourself up where the nail was there, and pull yourself up where the nails were in your hands, just to get air, just to breathe, because it was made to suffocate you. That's why at the end they would break the legs, because they would suffocate him after that. But you know what? He was thinking about you. He was thinking about me, thinking about us. Ultimately, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, no matter the things that are to come, that we fear, all those things, Jesus died for all that. He died for our sins, our iniquities, our shortcomings. He died for all that just so we can have everlasting life, but ultimately a purpose and destiny that we could walk out for him. And it's all simple, like the pastor was saying. It starts with a relationship with Christ. And he said something real good. He said, you know what, I don't like the word religion. I don't like the word religion either. Because if you look at what religion has done, it steals, kills, and destroys. Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship between you and the Lord. When you learn to build that relationship, you start to realize things. You start to become a better person. You want to do right. I want to do right. I want to be a better person in my own life. I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good husband. Whenever that comes, ultimately I want to be a good servant. I want to be good to my brothers. I want to live out this lifestyle that Christ has called for me. It's not easy, but you know what? Ultimately, he came for you. He came for you. And through him, all things are possible. All things are possible. Which leads me to my next song. It's a crunk song. So we're going to get into it. It's called Came for You. Came for You is on the laptop.